into sports photography, you got your camera and this is your setup, right? And you're realizing very quickly this isn't gonna cut it. This is not comfortable, and you're trying to use 2 cameras, this isn't gonna work. So let's talk about what we can do to fix that. And now what I'll do is I'll take you on my journey of how I got from this to my final setup. And maybe you'll find something along the way that didn't work for me that may work for you. All right, so this is the strap, or something like it comes with almost every camera, and this is what we end up using. I know I use this for a long time, but there's a lot of options now that weren't there before. And the thing you probably found out is you can't really cross it over very well. And if you have 2 straps, it crosses across your neck. If you use 2 cameras. Another thing too, of all sports photographers, we're eventually gonna have a lens that's gonna be long enough that you're gonna need a tripod on it, or some sort of monopod mount on it, right? So you're not gonna carry a camera by this method anyway, because anytime, the general rule of thumb is anytime you have a lens that is big enough to have a lens collar, you should be supporting the camera by the lens and not the body. So what to do next? Let's talk about that. All right, so one of the other options out there, you guys may have heard, is what's called spider holsters. They make some really great holsters, and they attach to a waist belt. You can get a dedicated waist belt like this from Think Tank that I have, or just use your own belt. It's up to you. I prefer this kind of belt because it spreads the load and you're not necessarily having your belt from your pants on there. And so it works pretty well. They have an attachment on here. You can drop it in. Same thing, they actually make an adapter for the 7200, so you can put that on your foot. This can be a great carry option. Ultimately though, I don't use this either, and here's the reason why. These are great when for me, when you're making, I'm gonna use this camera for a while, and then I'm gonna put it away, and it's pretty easy to put away, and then I'm gonna grab this one. But as you just saw me fumble there, imagine trying to rapidly switch cameras and make sure you catch it, and if you don't catch it, guess where it's gonna go, right? On the ground. So that's not something I prefer. The other side too is, this works great for 7200, but that's about as big a lens as you're gonna get, or 100 or 400. But if you're going something bigger, like a 300 or 400, you're not gonna be able to make this work. And I know probably a lot of you thinking, well, I'm gonna be using that on monopod anyway. Well, we'll get to that part, and I'll show you a way I don't do that with a monopod. So one of the setups that you see quite a bit is a dual kind of harness setup. And this came a lot from wedding photographers as well, because like wedding photographers in sports, you're having to go with the flow of the moment, and you need to rapidly change. And so the advantage I like for this is that I have both cameras ready, but instead of having to worry about putting it, I can really just swing it down and grab the next one and go back and forth, right? So that is the big advantage of a dual harness setup, is that I don't have to worry about where this camera goes generally. It's not gonna fall to the ground, I don't have to get it in a holster. It does swing around more. The advantage is here is speed, and that's what you have to think about for your approach to sports photography. Are you in a situation where you need to rapidly switch between focal lengths? You know, if you're still shooting on one camera, then this doesn't even apply to you. But for those of us who decide either we're getting a big prime, or hey, for example, basketball, 7200 is great, but what do you do underneath the net? You're gonna need something wider. In this case, it's 24-120, but like a 24-70. How do you rapidly shoot and keep track of your cameras and not worry about dropping them? So this is my setup. I use a Moneymaker harness by Holdfast. BlackRapid has a version as well of dual harnesses. I prefer this for a variety of reasons. We can get to the next section of the video, but this is something I would consider strongly if you're going to be doing sports and you're realizing you have to go back and forth between 2 lenses. Let's talk about harnesses. You decided maybe you're going to try the dual harness setup, which one to do. There's a lot of choices out there. Probably the ones you're most familiar with is BlackRapid. They do make some, I think, they're made out of like nylon straps, and they're very good. There's also these Holdfast Moneymakers. You probably have seen the price and they're like, I don't want to spend the money, and I get that. But the thing I will tell you with leather is that, having had experience with leather craft work with my daughter who rides horses and myself with lifting belts, is that not all leather is made the same, and there's an art form to it. So I do think it is money well spent. These harnesses I've been wearing now, this is my 3rd season, got a lot of heavy use and they work well. And the thing to keep in mind too, with the BlackRapid harnesses, the thing for me that it bothers me about them, why I decided to use them, it's basically 2 shoulder straps with adjoining straps to them. So it's really still mostly on your shoulders. Whereas if you look at the back of this, it's a cross pattern, which is kind of like this, the undercover, if you remember, old school gun holsters like from Miami Vice. That's kind of the difference. And so the difference here is that there's weight on my shoulders, but it's also distributed on my upper back, which is a lot bigger muscle. So it helps out. And that's the difference here, is where there's actually weight being helped spread out across my back and my shoulders. And I know if you have back problems, this may not be the thing for you, but I would say give it a shot, because actually I find this a lot less tiring than even wearing the waist belt. The waist belt, after a while, you feel the weight on your hips and it just feels heavy. This doesn't feel nearly as heavy, despite the fact right now I'm probably carrying close to maybe 20 pounds of gear. Another thing I like about the Holdfast Moneymaker is this bag here called the quiver belt, the quiver bag. And this bag is kind of nice because I can carry my water bottle, as you see here. I can carry spare batteries, memory cards, snacks, whatever I want. And it's just very easy to grab it here. And again, it's been supported by this whole harness rather than wear a waist belt, and it's very convenient for me. Now, the thing to think about too is how you're going to attach your cameras to your straps or harnesses. There's a few ways to do it. The standard Moneymaker way, they have these clips here, and this is also how BlackRapid does it. They have a bolt that attaches to the underside of your lens or your camera, and then you have a clip that goes into it, right? And that's fine. With BlackRapid, it's a carabiner. I personally decided I don't like that because I don't like having things sticking out, because if I want to use it on, say, a tripod or something like that, there's something that's sticking out of the way. And I like mine with a very clean look. It's the same thing that goes with the Peak Design, their straps they have. Nothing wrong with them, they work very, very well. I just don't like having dangly things out here. So what did I do? Well, I went with the QD quick disconnect system. So let me show you how that works. So what I've shown you so far is great if you shoot indoor sports or you're only using one lens. So what do you do for us field sport shooters, right, who shoot soccer or baseball, softball? At some point, you're probably going to go to something like this, a 400 millimeter or maybe a 300. And the reality is, this is probably very, very familiar to most of you guys. You're using a monopod as a setup. How does that work? How do you manage between such two cameras? This is why eventually I went away from the system, because what do, right? If I need to switch to my 7200, I have to kind of like do this and bring this up, and hopefully I don't drop my other lens, or you're gonna have to set this on the ground or whatever and short it. So I get why we do this. These lenses are heavy. This is a stable position, but I don't like doing this. So let me show you what my solution is. So this is my solution. Yes, I actually use a dual harness with my 400 millimeter lens. And I will admit, this will depend on a lot of things, including what your physical state is, right? If you're not capable, you have back problems, I get that, or you're not strong enough. But I think one of the things that made it game-changing is this lens. This is the Nikon Z 400 millimeter lens. And like all the mirrorless mount lenses, whether it's for Canon, Nikon, or Sony, they're a lot lighter. And not only are they lighter than the previous generation lenses, the weight has been shifted. It's more balanced right here in the middle. So this actually becomes, this lens is about 7 pounds. So with this full body here, you're talking close to 10 pounds, but it actually handles pretty well. So I actually can hand hold this. And so having this monopod, I can hand hold, swing it, and go back to here. And so I have, to me, the best of both worlds, where I can have this 400 and have the mobility I need and still switch back to between this lens. And I don't necessarily need the monopod, but let's say I do want to use the monopod. Well, I do use it sometimes, but I still use this harness. So I can show you what I do. Okay, so in theory, you could do the dual harness with a monopod, right? Because you have a quick release lever like I have here. You could take it off and move it, but it still gets very awkward. So what do? Well, I did something a little different. I took this, replaced it with this. So I got this on Amazon. This is literally a gun VRES beanbag. And so what I can do is I can move around. Instead of having this thing permanently attached to my lens, I can move around, carry this thing as I need, and then basically I can have all the stability I need with the monopod, and I can just switch back and go by the lens. And if this falls down, no big deal. It's just a monopod, right? It's not my whole lens falling down. So this is what I would recommend. You can even use it for your 7200. For those of you guys using 700, it still provides a lot of stability for yourself, but you're not stuck to this monopod permanently attached, or even with a quick release. It just gives you a lot more freedom of movement and ability to move around, and this is a lot easier to carry separately. So this is what my current setup is, and this is what I prefer. This is the quick disconnect here. And the way you make this work is you have to have some sort of camera plate or tripod foot that has them, and it's actually a pretty common system now. And so right here on this plate here, you can see this hole here, and it basically just simply pops in, right? So you have the buttons here, and you push it in, and it stays in. And then to do it, you have to purposely push the button to let it out. And I like it because it's very secure, and then when you take it off, there's nothing left, right? So that's the thing I like about this system. It was really designed by the military for their rifle slings. So I know there's some people who'll say I have some concerns about the failure rate on these. I have not seen the failure rate, but here's the thing. I look at it as, I know I get it. I'd be worried about dropping thousands of dollars worth of camera gear, but have to remember, this was designed to carry loaded rifles in combat, right? If there was a failure issue with this, they probably would not approve this design. So I think this design works pretty well. And that's why I went with this. And it allows for a cleaner look. And like I said, it's very, very common. Really Right Stuff makes tripod feet with the QD Connect. Kirk Photo does. Pro Media gear does as well, and so this is a good option for you. These are the sliders on the Moneymaker harness. And if these are actually the originals, you can see they're actually quite a bit shorter. I was lucky enough to email the manufacturer at Holdfast, and they were able to make some custom straps for me. And why did I do that? Well, the reason why is these harnesses are typically designed for wedding photographers, and they're typically shooting cameras that have shorter lenses, so they're mounting usually their cameras directly to the body. As you can see here, I'm mounting both of mine to the tripod feet. So what's the issue? Well, because the foot is out farther than this, the distance, right? So for this, that's fine, right? But this is not gonna work for this, right? If I had it out here, I'd be like, I can't stretch out my strap hard enough. So they made me some custom straps so I could actually get it long enough for this to work. And this is why I did this. And that's something I would recommend if you're gonna try. I don't know if they'll do it for you, but keep that in mind too. The length of the attachment point changes when you're mounted directly to the lens versus mounted to the camera body. As far as QD attachments, you can get a wide variety of them. This is the one I got from Pro Media Gear. It's their QD-P1. The reason why I like it is that if you have a strap system that can't come undone, like see these are riveted together, this takes care of it for you because you can actually screw this part on and get this slip on. And they also have a couple extra things. They have Peak Design safety strap harness, which I already have here anyway. They also have this. So the reason why this matters is if you go with the BlackRapid strap, you probably see them, instead of having a QD connection, BlackRapid by default has some sort of carabiner clip. So what you can do is then, rather than having to use this attachment here, you can use this attachment instead and put it on, and then put the carabiner through here and lock it in. That way you can adapt your BlackRapid to a QD system if you want to, without having to hack through things and make a kind of a dirty modification. You can actually make it look nice and clean. That was my personal journey through different things I tried out to work with my sports photography. This is what I ended up settling on. Hope you guys found some of that information useful. Maybe you found a system along the way that I didn't use that you prefer to use, or you already do. So I'd love to hear in the comments what you guys like, what you would like to maybe try out. And if you liked the video, you have to hit like and hit subscribe to get some more videos from me.